Welcome back to Scaring YouTube channel. Tonight, we dive into a story where the unimaginable hides in plain sight. A story of a small dog, seemingly innocent, but with something far darker lurking behind its innocent eyes. If you're a fan of mysterious and chilling tales, stay tuned. And remember, some things, no matter how small, are more terrifying than they seem. This is the story of a little dog named Trixie. She was a small terrier, the kind that everyone loved at first sight. Her fluffy brown fur, her tiny wagging tail, and those big, round eyes that melted hearts. But as her owner Megan would soon find out, there was something not quite right about Trixie. It all started one cold autumn evening. Megan had just moved into a quaint old house at the edge of a small town. The house had been abandoned for years, and the neighbors always talked about how people who moved in never stayed long. But Megan shrugged off the rumors. To her, it was the perfect home, quiet, peaceful, and surrounded by nature. She adopted Trixie a few weeks after moving in, and they quickly became inseparable. Megan loved how Trixie would follow her around everywhere, always looking up with those adoring eyes. But then, strange things began to happen. It started with small noises. At night, Megan would hear scratching at the walls, faint whimpers echoing through the halls. At first, she thought it was just Trixie, maybe unsettled by her new home. But every time she checked, Trixie was sound asleep at the foot of her bed, snuggled into a little ball. Megan brushed it off, convincing herself it was the wind or perhaps the old house settling. But as the days went on, the noises grew louder and more persistent. One evening, as Megan was watching TV, she noticed Trixie sitting by the door, staring at the darkness outside. Her little body was completely still, not even the usual tail wag. Megan called her name, but Trixie didn't respond. It was as if she was frozen, staring intently into the black void beyond the door. Suddenly, Trixie let out a low growl, something Megan had never heard from her before. Her tiny body trembled as her growl turned into a vicious snarl. Megan's heart raced. She quickly pulled Trixie away from the door, but the dog continued to stare, her eyes wide, as if she could see something that Megan couldn't. The next day, things got worse. Megan woke up to find strange dirt prints scattered throughout the house. The footprints were small, too small to belong to any animal she could think of. They led from the back door all the way to her bedroom, stopping right beside her bed. She checked every window and door. They were all locked. Trixie, lying at the foot of the bed as usual, seemed perfectly calm, as if nothing had happened. Over the next few nights, the prints returned, but now they came with something else. Megan began to hear faint whispers just beyond the walls. It was hard to make out what they were saying, but they always came in the dead of night, soft but relentless. Trixie, who used to sleep peacefully, began to act strangely. She'd wake up in the middle of the night and sit by the door, growling at something Megan couldn't see. One evening, Megan decided to stay awake to see if she could catch whatever was causing the noises and the strange footprints. She sat in her living room, the lights dim, the house eerily silent. Trixie sat on the floor beside her, her ears twitching nervously. Hours passed and nothing happened. Just as Megan began to think it was all in her head, she heard it. The faint sound of scratching coming from beneath the floor. Her blood ran cold. Slowly, she stood up and walked toward the center of the room. The sound grew louder, as if something or someone was trying to claw its way up. Trixie's growling grew more intense, her small body trembling with fear. Megan knew she had to act. She grabbed a flashlight and made her way to the basement, the air growing colder with each step. The door creaked open, revealing a dark, damp stairwell. As she descended, the scratching grew louder, more frantic. Trixie, despite her fear, followed closely behind. The basement was empty, except for the old wooden floorboards covered in dust. But then Megan saw it. One of the boards was loose, and from beneath it, the sound of scratching was deafening. Heart pounding, she knelt down and pried the board open. What she found beneath made her scream. There, lying in a shallow grave, was the skeletal remains of a small dog, its bones twisted and broken, as if it had been buried alive. Trixie let out a terrified yelp, and in that moment, Megan understood. Trixie had been seeing something she couldn't, something tied to the spirit of the dog beneath the floor. But before she could react, the lights flickered, and the basement door slammed shut. The temperature dropped, and Megan felt a cold breath on the back of her neck. The whispers returned, louder now, filling her head with incomprehensible words. Trixie barked wildly, trying to protect her, but the force in the room was too strong. Megan fled the basement, Trixie right behind her. She never went back down there again. A few days later, she moved out, leaving the house and whatever haunted it behind. To this day, Megan still swears that Trixie saved her from something far worse than just a haunting. And as for the house, well, it still stands, waiting for its next unsuspecting resident. And that, my friends, is the chilling tale of Trixie and the secrets buried beneath the floorboards. What did you think of this story? Could you sense the evil lurking in that old house? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this spine-tingling tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more terrifying stories every week. Until next time, sleep tight, and keep an eye on your pets. They might be seeing something you can't.